News Network between the headlines. It is, what's today? Today is Wednesday, isn't it? Yeah, tomorrow's my birthday. It is 8:46 p.m. in Washington, D.C., 80 degrees, and the America 250 celebrations are kicking off. But first, we're going to get to our White House rundown. Good evening. I'm Gary Franchi, Next News Network Chief White House Correspondent, delivering the latest White House news from the past 24 hours, here with our streaming partner, Trump Daily Post. Tonight's rundown starts where the energy was unmistakable. President Trump's Great American State Fair remarks, a forceful Oval Office session with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, centered on Iran, and continued pressure on Congress to move the SAVE Act as the administration ties national strength to border security, election integrity, and lower costs for American families. The White House political and communications focus over the last 15 hours centered on three themes: President Trump's remarks at the Great American State Fair, his high-profile meeting with the NATO Secretary General on Iran, and sustained outreach to Congress on the SAVE Act. Now, the administration's message stayed disciplined and direct: American workers, stronger borders, economic momentum, and the America First posture abroad. The White House also highlighted social media promotion around the State Fair, the NATO meeting, patriotic messaging about the workers keeping America running, and the president's True Social posts on vandalism incidents and America First priorities. And from the Pool Report, President Trump began speaking in the Oval Office at 4:14 p.m. with the Secretary General of NATO at his side. Mark Rutte opened up by congratulating the president on Iran and used charts to lay out NATO defense spending, European investment in the United States, and the alliance's defense industrial base. The session underscored the administration's argument that American leadership is driving events and that allies are being pressed to carry more of the load. From the Pool Report, President Trump used the appearance to press NATO allies harder on Iran, saying that he was disappointed that allied countries were not doing more, even while speaking respectfully of Rutte. He said he would not compromise on the Save America Act, said he would not sign a housing bill, confirmed discussions with oil executives as the DOJ examines gas prices, and kept the focus on strength abroad and accountability at home. Vice President J.D. Vance added comments on the F-35 deal with Turkey, and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth stressed the seriousness of the Pentagon investigation into the Iranian school strike. On Capitol Hill earlier in the day, from the Pool Report, President Trump described his meeting with Senator John Thune as a really great meeting and said, quote, "We have a really well-unified party." He also tied the Iran situation to energy prices, pointing to oil above $70 as the administration pushes for relief at the pump and tougher scrutiny of price pressure. Also, the president returning to the West Wing around 2:40 p.m. today after the Capitol Hill meetings. That closed out a visible round of direct engagement with Senate Republicans as the White House kept the Save America Act front and center. Also, from the Pool Reports today, President Trump re-entered the Ohio Clock Corridor at 2:21 p.m. with Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, who has been involved in the Iran deal negotiations. The lineup itself told the story: domestic policy, border and election priorities, and high-stakes foreign policy all moving on parallel tracks. A short time later, the president appeared with Senators Rick Scott, John Barrasso, Mike Lee, and John Thune, with Stephen Miller also nearby. He said Iran was complying with his demands and then departed the corridor, entering the motorcade at about 2:23 p.m. and returning to the White House by 2:31 p.m. with Burgum riding in the Beast. The earlier Hill stop produced one of the day's clearest lines from the Pool Reports, arriving with Majority Leader John Thune at 1:09 p.m. President Trump said of the war with Iran, "The war is going really well. We're winning by a lot." Asked about election legislation versus the housing issue, he answered by stressing the importance of every election and warning about communism before leaving to cheers. Later in the afternoon, the press entered the Oval Office about 4:13 p.m. as the president prepared to speak. That setup led directly into the Rutte appearance and the administration's last public push on allied burden sharing and Iran. According to the daily guidance, the schedule of the president today included some executive time in the morning, a noon bill signing event at the Capitol that was actually put on hold, a 1 p.m. Senate Steering Committee lunch, the 3:30 p.m. NATO Secretary General meeting in the Oval Office, a 5 p.m. policy meeting, and of course the remarks going on right now. at the Great American State Fair on the National Mall. The guidance captured a full day built around legislation, diplomacy, and a major public address. From the pool report, the motorcade began moving at 12:59 p.m. The pool saw the president already seated in the Beast as it passed the press van. One additional passenger was inside as the trip to the Capitol got underway earlier today. From the next pool report, the motorcade reached the U.S. Capitol at 1:05 p.m., though the press did not witness the arrival itself. Minutes later, the Hill portion of the day shifted into SAVE Act push and Senate meetings. So taken together, the past 24 hours showed a White House pressing its advantage, projecting strength overseas, tightening coordination with congressional Republicans, and keeping the public messaging centered on security, lower costs, and American renewal. That is the latest from the White House tonight. Now let's turn the page and move into the rest of the top stories shaping the day and welcome you to Between the Headlines on the Next News Network. We are streaming live on X at Next News. We're streaming at Trump Daily Posts, our streaming partner, as well as on our flagship channel on YouTube, as well as on Rumble and on X. Make sure you're following us on all platforms. So we got some news tonight. We're going to get you the latest. Rand Paul has been on a tear going after Anthony Fauci. We have some updates on that. We also will give you the latest on Ted Lieu getting blasted today and the action that was going on in Congress I just spoke about. Also, the latest on Iran. We have remarks from Rubio and the president as well. We'll also talk about the latest fraud that has been captured by the DOJ. Trump busts butt-naked Medicare racket. Yes, that's the name of the boat, butt-naked. We're also going to get into also more on that reflecting pool, as well as what's going on at the America 250 events taking place right now. And curious DEI hire from J.P. Morgan getting the boot today after a video went viral. We're going to give you all the latest as we get into our first story of the evening. Anthony Fauci didn't just duck Rand Paul. He agreed to testify, then ran. That one detail tells you everything. For years, Fauci barked at the country like a COVID priest, smeared honest Americans as conspiracy theorists, and hid behind the media cartel while families buried loved ones and workers got crushed by lockdown madness. Well, now the wall's cracking. Rand Paul subpoenaed Fauci to appear July 29th at 10 a.m. before the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, and the questions are brutal. Wuhan funding, destroyed records, and Biden's preemptive auto pen pardon. You see, Fauci spent years demanding obedience, and now he gets a chair, an oath, and nowhere to hide. You see, this matters because Anthony Fauci never acted like a public servant. He acted like an unelected ruler with your money, your freedom, and your family in his hands. Rand Paul nailed a scandal in 9 words. USA funded it, Fauci approved it, the CIA buried it. There it is. The money trail, the bureaucrat, the intelligence cover-up, and Biden's handlers tried to slam the vault shut with a preemptive auto pen pardon on the way out the door, as if a machine-signed favor could wash away years of wreckage. Every American family that lost someone during COVID deserves answers. Every worker wrecked by lockdowns deserves answers. Every student robbed of normal life deserves answers. This is bigger than Fauci's ego and bigger than one hearing. If Anthony Fauci can bankroll gain-of-function Frankenstein virus research, deny it, blast critics, destroy records, and hide behind a pardon, the regime learned it can devastate this country and walk away clean. President Trump smashed that era. Now patriots in Congress need to finish the job. You see, when a man ducks July 29th at 10 a.m. after agreeing to testify, I trust results and not bureaucrats, and that's why I reach for C60 Evo. Yes, I've tried hundreds of supplements. Nothing hit like this. Nobel Prize-winning molecule. My brain fog gone. Joint pain virtually eliminated. My wife's skin looks 10 years younger, and my energy feels 20 years younger. This isn't just hype from Houston or Paris. You see, the Paris study, it called it the longest life extension in history. Lab animals live 90% longer. It's 172 times more powerful than vitamin C, worth more than gold per ounce. Made in a Houston lab that's been making it since 1991. Not just another antioxidant, it works at the cellular level where aging actually happens. So grab exclusive savings at c60evo.com/NNN and use code NNN at checkout. No more hiding. Now here's the detail that turns this from satisfying to devastating. Rand Paul says he isn't just hauling Anthony Fauci into rehash masks and slogans. He wants the funding trail to Wuhan, the destroyed records, and the details surrounding Biden's preemptive auto pen pardon. That means this hearing can blow past health bureaucracy and straight into the protection racket around Fauci. So keep that in mind as I pull up the receipts, because the country sees exactly what the regime tried to bury. So we have this. Dr. Anthony Fauci could be facing justice as he has been subpoenaed by Senator Rand Paul after declining to testify voluntarily before the Senate Homeland Security Committee on the origins of COVID. Will his preemptive pardon protect him? Will the auto pen be his undoing? So Brigden says that Fauci may finally have to answer for COVID. Now Rand raises the pressure. Fauci didn't just refuse to testify. He agreed first and then ran. Fauci didn't just refuse. He agreed to testify, then backed out. The auto pen preemptive pardon that Biden gave him doesn't end this. I want to know about Wuhan funding, destroyed records, and details surrounding his pardon. So Rand Paul says the Biden auto pen pardon won't shut this down, and he's demanding answers on the funding, the records. Now look at the subpoena itself. We showed this to you yesterday. Fauci's been subpoenaed to appear on July 29th, 10 a.m. before the Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs. Here's a clearer picture of it. This is the actual subpoena that Fauci has received. So it's not just talk. It's a formal Senate command with a time and place. Rand Paul is about to lay the bigger charge. Fauci approved the kind of gain-of-function research that could have unleashed COVID. He writes that Fauci greenlit dangerous gain-of-function Frankenstein virus research that brought us COVID. D&I Gabbard has revealed that risky biolabs are operating across the globe, potentially doing the same kinds of reckless experiments. I'm going to find out and keep fighting it.
You know, there was a 10-year period when there wasn't supposed to be gain-of-function research other than special permission. During that period, though, Anthony Fauci kept giving exemptions. Some of the exemptions were given to the Wuhan lab. So, yeah, they were taking coronaviruses, the backbone of it, and mixing and matching S proteins from other viruses to create brand new viruses that didn't exist in nature. And we think that's what was going on when COVID was created in the lab. And so D&I Gabbard has released and confirmed what we've been saying all along, that not only was this done in China, she's now released that there's 120 biolabs in 30 countries. And as you recall, anybody who talked about there being any biolabs in Ukraine was roundly condemned and vilified as a conspiracy theorist, but it turns out that it's true. And we're going to get into each of these individual labs, look at the experiments, and we're going to reveal if any of them were gain-of-function research. Now, the establishment wants to say nothing to see here, animal vaccines and this and that, but there's a difference between an animal with human lungs and a regular animal. So we'll see what kind of research they were doing. What they were doing in China was taking a virus and running it through a rat, but a rat that had human lungs. So as the virus gets infected into a rat with human lungs, you are training the virus to become more able to infect humans. It's called serial passage. And that's what they did in China. And that's what in all likelihood led to this pandemic. But we're not done with it yet. We announced yesterday that we'll be subpoenaing Anthony Fauci to come in to testify for us. There was a grand conspiracy, and he's at the top of it. From the very beginning days in January of 2020, he gathered the most famous virologists in the country together and asked them, do you think this came from nature or do you think it looks manipulated? Every one of them said it looked manipulated. They were 80% sure, 90% sure, some were 50-50, but they all thought there was a great deal of chance that this was manipulated in the lab. But these same scientists, after one meeting, one phone call with Fauci, were convinced to flip their position and write a paper called Proximal Origins, in which they said there's no plausible way that this came from a lab. So privately, they all believed one thing, publicly they said another thing, and a month later, at least one of them got an $8 million NIH grant signed by Fauci. Coincidence? You decide.
Yeah. There are no coincidences in Washington, D.C., but Paul says Fauci handed out exemptions for dangerous virus work, including in Wuhan. The establishment tried to wave it away. Next, even mainstream TV admits the lab leak questions never went away. Channel 4 dispatches had this.
Where did it come from? No one knows, or if they do know, they're not telling.
But that just infuriated me. That's me. I'm no conspiracy theorist. I'm sorry.
It was very clear from day one that the Chinese government was doing what it does. It was actively trying to suppress information about this outbreak.
If it was shown that the pandemic resulted from a lab leak, it would be the biological equivalent of Chernobyl or a Hiroshima moment for the life science community.
And now we know it did come from a lab leak. The clip zeroed in on what was happening inside the labs. Now the focus shifts to the basic question. The media spent years dodging. Where did it actually come from? Senator Paul says it's time for Fauci to give us the answers he should have a long time ago. So the questions still hang over Fauci. Paul says the bottom line is simple. It's time for answers, and he should have given them years ago. He's not stopping. He says we'll be seeking answers and accountability. But the public anger even sharper as outrage over Fauci's refusal to appear boils over. Fauci must be held accountable for crimes against humanity and the death penalty. That's what Michael Larson says. So you can hear the fury, but the pushback is coming too. One critic demanding proof and calling the whole case absurd. Arthur Kaplan, carrying water for the narrative, he says, I care about how absurd the charge is. Produce real evidence or shut up about this crazy conspiracy idea. So the defenders are still trying the same old play, dismiss it, insult it, and move on. Rand Paul isn't backing off. Now we widen the gap between what independent voices are saying and what TV viewers were told. Rogan and Taylor Sheridan had a raw conversation about Gabbard's final act as Director of National Intelligence, exposing Dr. Fauci. Listen to this.
To talk about.
Oh, yeah.
And this is why, Tulsi Gabbard, in her final act as Director of National Intelligence, as she's leaving, she gave that press conference about Fauci. And she talked about how he lied in front of Congress and that he absolutely used American tax funds to fund gain-of-function research through EcoHealth Alliance and through the Wuhan lab in Wuhan, China. And, no one's covering it.
No. And by the way, didn't we all know that already?
Well, we knew it, but my parents didn't. People that just read the newspapers and watch TV, they don't know.
I've never seen anything as flagrantly obvious as COVID coming from the Wuhan lab studying COVID.
Right.
I've never. And you've got fucking news anchors keeping a straight face saying it came from the wet market.
Did you ever see Jon Stewart's bit on it that he did on the Colbert Show?
No.
You never saw it?
No.
Oh, we need to play it. Let's play it because it's so funny because Colbert tries to stop him from doing it and push back. And John, he's a great comic. He just gets up from his chair and gets louder and just plows through it.
Really?
Over Colbert's trying to cock block his bit. He's it's a funny bit. And he's getting in the way. Oh, I'd like to see if you have information on that. I'd like to see it. And he just keeps going. He keeps plowing away. It's very funny. And it's in the middle of it, right? This was a courageous step because he was doing this when calling it out and saying that it came from a lab in Wuhan, China was somehow or another conflated with racism. Remember that?
Yeah.
If you said it came from Wuhan, China, from a lab, you're racist.
Yeah.
How did you pull that off? It's no one's saying anything. It's racist. It's from fucking China, and it seems like EcoHealth Alliance funded it, and it seems like we funded EcoHealth Alliance.
Yes.
There's a lot of fucking paperwork.
And by the way, there's studies on the fucking disease that they've been doing that are posted on the CDC website. They're posted on the fucking. My favorite was when you catch all the shit about ivermectin.
Yeah.
And literally when that happened, I went, I'll fucking look that up. Look up ivermectin and studies with ivermectin. And a study pops up on the CDC website while people are telling us to not take that shit. And it talks about the efficacy of ivermectin and antiviral properties, specifically COVID-19.
Yeah.
So it's on the government website that the fucking drug works while they're telling everyone to not take it.
And they're mocking me for taking
Yes.
horse dewormer. Wild times in the news, because I think from then on, that sort of sent a shockwave through the majority of the population where just whatever trust they had in the news just got severely eroded.
Yeah.
And if we don't have good news, if we don't have trust in the news, then we're kind of adrift. And then you get locked into fucking conspiracy theories and echo chambers online, and you can get trapped in them too, and that's not good either.
Yeah,
Yeah. Trust the news, right? So his point is simple. A lot of Americans knew, but the corporate press kept them in the dark. Rand Paul on a tear today, putting Fauci on notice in one line: power won't protect him. He says, I don't care how powerful you are. If you lie to Congress and help cover up the origins of a pandemic, you will answer for it. Dr. Fauci is no exception. Next, he goes harder, naming who funded it and who approved it, and who he says helped bury the truth. He said USAID funded it. Fauci approved it. The CIA buried it. I subpoenaed Fauci because someone has to be held accountable. The cover-up of COVID's origins is the biggest scandal in modern medical history. That's the core accusation. Next, RFK Jr. adds another explosive claim why Fauci allegedly couldn't allow alternative COVID treatments to gain any traction. HHS Secretary RFK Jr. with Megyn Kelly.
Tony Fauci's problem was this. There's a little-known federal law that says you cannot give an emergency use authorization to a vaccine if there is any medication approved for any purpose that is shown effective against the target disease. So if Tony Fauci or anybody had admitted that hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin are effective against COVID, it would have been illegal for them to give the emergency use authorizations to the vaccines, and they could never have gotten them approved. And it would have been, a $200 billion enterprise that would have collapsed.
That is fascinating. I mean, I have been covering this very closely now for all of the 2 years. That's the first I've heard that. In your book. So he would not have gotten emergency use authorization for the vaccine if the medical community had been saying ivermectin works. It is an effective treatment for COVID.
Well, the medical community, a lot of it was saying that. I mean, there's 17,000 doctors who've signed a petition, and there are so many peer-reviewed publications now that consistently say that, but he had to aggressively crusade against it to kind of drown out those reports by saying it's a horse medication, it's, people are taking it and it's dangerous and it's overdosing people. And,
well, why did he keep saying it? Why did he keep saying it after he got his authorization?
Well, even if you have the emergency use authorization, the law appears to say you can't have it anymore if there's a functioning medication. So, that may be why. Again, I try not to look in his head, but I do. There's a very, very strong incentive for him to kill ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. And, there are many doctors, including Harvey Reich of Yale, who's one of the leading biostatisticians, epidemiologists in the world. Peter McCulloch, who is the most published doctor in the history of the world in his specialty. Pierre Corey, these doctors who've treated tens of thousands of COVID patients successfully, they consistently say, and the science supports this, that 500,000 Americans did not need to die.
500,000 Americans didn't need to die. So he argues Fauci had every incentive to crush treatments that could have blocked emergency vaccine authorization. Next, Rand Paul brings it back to the record. Years of denial, destroyed records, and the subpoena Fauci couldn't dodge. He spent years dismissing questions about the origins as conspiracy theories. Now we know taxpayers funded gain-of-function research at the Wuhan lab. Records were destroyed. President Biden rushed to give him a preemptive pardon. He wouldn't testify voluntarily before my committee, so I subpoenaed him. So after the denial and the stonewalling, it comes down to this. A Senate subpoena with Fauci's name on it. And here it is again. The command to appear and testify. Right there. So it's not just talk anymore. It's a formal Senate command with a time and place. Rand Paul about to lay out the bigger charge. Fauci approved the kind of gain-of-function research that could have unleashed COVID. So the moral verdict here lands right on that sentence from Rand Paul. Fauci didn't just refuse to testify, he agreed to testify, then backed out. Innocent men do not do that after years of public preening. Anthony Fauci spent half a decade sneering at Americans who said that Wuhan looked obvious. He waved off the lab leak theory as a conspiracy theory. He denied gain-of-function reality. He counted on the CIA, the legacy media, and the Biden machine to keep him floating above the wreckage. Then Rand Paul forced the issue, July 29th at 10 a.m. in the Dirksen Senate office building. The regime's favorite COVID priest finally gets dragged into the light, not for another cable hit, for sworn testimony. So here is the line in the sand. No more fog, no more sainted bureaucrat theater, no more media amnesia. Senator Rand Paul needs to press this all the way through. Wuhan funding, EcoHealth channels, USAID money, destroyed records, every contact with intelligence officials, and every detail behind that Biden-era autopen pardon. Bring the emails, bring the names, bring the paper trail. If Anthony Fauci dodges, stonewalls, or plays semantic games, haul in the next layer of the machine that protected him. John Brennan's crowd buried things, corporate media smeared truth tellers, Biden's handlers tried to wrap the whole mess in a pardon ribbon on the way out. Those days are over. The Trump administration shattered the old order, and now Congress has a chance to prove the protected class is not untouchable. So share the segment if you want every American to remember that date. July 29th, 10 a.m. If Fauci finally talks, the whole racket starts cracking with him. I want to make sure that you stay in the know. On the inside track, text the words raw feed to 844-840-4963. Join thousands of patriots who are already getting the notifications from me direct when YouTube never sends them. Celebrate America 250 going on right now by going to the merch shelf below this video or shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. So I'm thinking I might see July 29th. I'm going to see if I can maybe get to D.C. for that. Maybe I'll run into Fauci in the hallway. If you could ask Fauci one question, what would it be? I was thinking something along the lines of, how do you sleep at night knowing you killed over 500,000 people? Maybe that's a good start. Okay, let's go on to our next story. Ted Lieu taking heat today, and a lot of action in the halls of Capitol Hill. But we're going to get to that right now. Ted Lieu stood in Congress and pushed a sewer rumor built around one bizarre detail. An unidentified 79-year-old man getting access to a special drug through compassionate use. That was the attack. Not policy, not inflation, not border security, personal slime. And Lieu, he pushed it while President Trump was doing the opposite of what the media ghouls wanted you to believe. Trump froze a housing signing, called the Save America Act a national emergency, then walked straight into Capitol Hill to force election integrity onto the table. So ask yourself one question. If Trump were weak, why did the smear merchants and black robe activists panic this hard, this fast, on the exact same day? See, the fight matters because it's not about one ceremony or a post or one loudmouth congressman. It's about whether citizens still run elections in their own country or whether Ted Lieu, House Democrats, legacy media hacks, and Judge Denise Casper keep a rigged pipeline alive. Trump didn't blink. He put the housing news conference and signing on ice until the desperately needed Save America Act passes. He called it what it is, a national emergency. That's leverage. That is leadership. Democrats answered with filth. House Democrats whined that Trump was throwing a fit. Ted Lieu dragged Congress through the gutter with whispers about side effects, sleepiness, arm weakness, and that grotesque 79-year-old drug rumor. Then Denise Casper, an Obama appointee in Boston, dropped a sweeping order blocking proof of citizenship and voter ID enforcement. There it is. Smear him personally, block him institutionally, protect the ballot chaos, protect the weeks-long counts, protect the blue state fraud culture that dilutes legal American voters and locks the machine in power. When Denise Casper blocks election safeguards and Ted Lieu turns Congress into a gossip pit, I think about strategic resources and who gets ahead before the herd wakes up. That's why I looked at Noble Gold Investments. You see, silver as the next oil makes sense to me because it's a critical resource in solar panels, electric vehicles, defense systems, AI infrastructure, and massive data centers. Demand keeps growing, yet it's still affordable. So the average American can start accumulating physical silver and protect against inflation with the metal the future depends on. Go to nextnewsgold.com and see why Noble Gold is getting attention right now. If you mention me and open a new qualified account, you can receive a 1/10 ounce gold coin. Stop waiting for the regime to tell you what matters. Now here's the part that blows the whole smear apart. Ted Lieu pushed that special drug slime in public, and hours later, Trump was on Capitol Hill, greeting Senate Republicans, pushing the Save America Act, and later telling the country, we have the hottest country in the world, and we want to keep it that way. The contrast is devastating. One side traffics and whispers about a mystery patient. The other side forces a national fight over voter ID, proof of citizenship, mail ballot abuse, where the Republicans have a spine. So keep that in mind as we pull up the receipts. So Brian Krasenstein posted this, and I saw this story yesterday. There's an article that was posted about this special drug, a GLP-1, and they're trying to say that it's President Trump that is getting this special drug. So Krasenstein says rumors are circulating online that Trump may be terminally ill after a report that Eli Lilly and FDA let only one person, an unidentified 79-year-old man, access to a powerful new drug through FDA's compassionate use program. The program is reserved for people with serious and immediately life-threatening conditions. Well, I looked at the drug. It is a GLP-1. Okay, you guys have seen these GLP-1s everywhere. Trump is not in a position to be requiring compassionate use for a GLP-1. So the smear started online with anonymous chatter in the drug room, and now watch Ted Lieu drag it into the House podium, openly suggests President Trump is terminally ill.
Chairman Aguilar, inflation is up, grocery prices are up, utility costs are up, housing prices are up. We have a bipartisan housing bill that both the Congress and Senate passed. There was supposed to be a big signing ceremony today in the Capitol, and then all of a sudden, Donald Trump decides he's not coming to sign the bill. Well, why is that? Did he wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Is he unable to stay awake today? What's causing him to chicken out again? Is it Taco Wednesday? Or is it side effects from a drug? We don't know. This erratic behavior of the president is very concerning. He has trouble staying awake at multiple White House events and cabinet meetings. He has clearly some weakness in one of his arms. He's got swelling in his hands. And the White House needs to come clean. What we know is there's a report saying that one person in America got this special new drug. It was a 79-year-old person who's very high profile. And this drug can only be given to someone under the compassionate use provision, meaning you do that if someone basically has a terminal illness. So we need to know, did Donald Trump get this special drug from Eli Lilly? And did he get it under that provision? And if he did, why is that the case?
Yeah. So he didn't just question Trump's schedule. He pushed a death smear. Next, the Trump team fires back hard. Stephen Chung unloading on Lieu by name. He said, Ted Lieu is a dumbass. He probably spent hours laughing to himself, thinking that peddling this lie would be funny. Sadly for Ted, there's no special new drug to cure being a bitch. Oh, yeah. So Chung torching the lie. And here's the part that wrecks the whole stunt. President Trump shows up on Capitol Hill himself, walking in to meet Senate Republicans on the Save America Act.
Mr. President! Mr. President!
Like a boss.
Mr. President! Mr. President, do you still have confidence in Leader Thune, sir?
Are you going to sign the housing bill, sir?
Mr. President,
what about this federal court ruling?
Mr. President, why are you vetoing your own legislation?
Winning by a lot. Tehran is making very big concessions.
So much for the Democrats' fantasy Trump on the move, talking policy. Now he zeroes in on the radical left and says exactly what they're trying to bring to this country.
Every election's important. We're doing very well. They want a lot of communists to come in. I'm saying it a little bit differently, but the people that they're pushing are communists, and this country is not going to have communists. Thank you very much.
So Trump put the ideological fight front and center. Now compare that with the House Democrats' spin, accusing him of throwing a fit over the housing bill and tying it to the Save America Act. Congress passed a bipartisan bill, this is House Democrats, to tackle the affordable housing crisis, but Trump is throwing a fit, refusing to sign it into law unless his voter suppression legislation passes. He said it himself, he doesn't care about America's financial situation. See, Democrats want you to think this is a tantrum, but next you'll see Trump's own post. He canceled the housing event until Congress moves what he calls the desperately needed Save America Act. Today's housing news conference and signing is hereby canceled until such time as we pass the desperately needed Save America Act, which I consider to be a national emergency. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So his truth post makes the message unmistakable. No business as usual until election security gets handled. Right after that, the judicial resistance kicks in with an Obama-appointed judge moving to block key voter ID provisions. Bill Maloogian, Boston-based federal judge Denise Casper, an Obama appointee, just issued a sweeping order that bans the Trump administration from implementing most of its federal voter ID executive orders, including proof of citizenship requirement. Casper concluded the Constitution does not grant the president any specific power over election. DOJ expected to appeal, and here is your Obama-appointed judge. So the bench stepping in to shield the same weak election rules the left depends on. Next, a very different claim hits the feed, one saying the Postal Service is ready to stop carrying ballots for states defying Trump's order. A huge win for election integrity, Gunter Eagleman Post. U.S. Postmaster General dropping the hammer on Congress. The Post Office will not deliver mail-in ballots for the 2026 midterms to any states that refuse to comply with President Trump's election integrity executive order. No more shady, unsecured mail-in chaos in blue states trying to rig the game. So you've seen the election integrity fight escalate from the courtroom to the mail system. Now Fox lays out the open clash between Trump and Senate Republicans over the stalled Save America Act.
John, there's a really interesting dynamic playing out right this minute that we have not seen since Donald Trump reshaped the Republican Party around his platform several years ago. He is really mad at Congress because they have not passed the Save America Act. And Congress, are really mad at him because he killed a bill signing today as a result of Congress not passing that Save America Act. So they've got a lot to talk about at a closed-door lunch in addition to the war in Iran.
The war is going very well. As you know, we're winning by a lot. Iran is making very big concessions. We'll see what happens, but it's been very, very, very powerful. It's going very, very well.
And brand new from Truth Social, part of a post about Iran peace talks says, we will be releasing some of their money that is totally controlled by us to our farmers and ranchers for the purchase of corn, wheat, soybeans, and more. Food is desperately needed in Iran, and we will be purchasing it for them exclusively from the United States. Next up here, an Oval Office meeting with the head of NATO, seen on screen there, Mark Rutte.
I think also he is right to move to this deal. And in essence, what it means is that Iran will not be able to develop this nuclear capability and therefore not be a threat to the region and the wider world.
And for those keeping score at home, Mark Rutte is the official who last summer referred to Donald Trump as Daddy. John.
Indeed, he did.
And indeed, I was in the room when he referred to him as Daddy. I was there covering the NATO events. And it was quite a moment, to say the least. But of course, NATO is spineless, and they cowered in fear when President Trump called on them, despite the fact that we are really the backbone of NATO. We will never forget. So Fox, framing the tension inside the GOP, Trump makes the case in the next clip, says that these are 99% issues and spells out why voter ID, proof of citizenship, and mail-in ballot limits are non-negotiable. Here's the president just a few hours ago in the Oval.
Would you be open to a compromise measure that had provisions of the SAVE Act into a reconciliation bill?
Not really. No, the SAVE Act should be, this is not compromise. It's voter ID, it's proof of citizenship, and it's also the mail-in ballots. We want mail-in ballots for the military if they're away. We want them for people that are ill or people that are in some form handicapped or have a hard time or people even that are on vacation. I'm open to that. But mail-in ballots, you have to vote because we have a lot of rigged elections.
And we
And then we added in men in women's sports as a no-no. No men in women's sports and no transgender mutilization of our children. These are 99% issues, and we have to do it. We have to protect. Look at what's gone on in Los Angeles and California. The vote still hasn't been counted. What's it, 2 weeks now? It still hasn't been counted. And I don't know Spencer Pratt, but I watched him, and he was doing really nicely. All of a sudden, he's out. And I said he was going to be out because he was doing well. And then a week later, they started saying, oh, he's starting to lose favor. He's starting to lose. I said, they just rigged the election. And they were going to do that with Steve Hilton. He's a good man. And I asked the U.S. attorney to go look at their votes. And as soon as I did that, they announced that Steve Hilton would be a finalist. So, no, we have rigged elections. Now, in my case, I made it too big to rig. Remember the expression, too big to rig? But we have rigged, and we have to have voter ID. If we don't have voter ID and proof of citizenship, but basically it's the Save America Act. Everybody wants it. Everybody is it, including Democrats. 87% of Democrats want it. Not the leaders, because they want to cheat. Their policy is so bad, they're unelectable.
That's the truth right there. President Trump drawing the line. Next, Senator Tommy Tuberville backs him up and warns Senate Republicans that they don't act, the country keeps sliding towards the left agenda.
Yeah, that's a no-go. He's not going to take anything out of the Save America Act. What's in there needs to stay. We just talked about the avenues of the talking filibuster or voting out the regular filibuster and voting it in. Because this is, and President Trump's right here. Again, I travel the country. If we don't do something with the filibuster and we don't get things passed, it'll be the last time we'll have a Republican president or a Republican Senate or a House. That's how fast this country is going down to communism. And we need to stop it. We can stop it. It's balls in our court. President Trump said that, balls in your court. I'm here to support you. Let me know if there's anything I can do. But this is what we have to do to save the United States of America from communism. He's exactly right.
So he says the ball's in the Senate's court and Trump's right to hold firm. Now we see how President Trump sums up the closed-door lunch, including his message on party unity and where the country stands now.
We had a really great meeting, and we're very proud of the party. We like everybody really in the room. I don't like a few people, but that's okay. I think you know who they are. But I'll give you that information someday. But for the most part, we have a really well-unified party. And I said it very strongly. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the most powerful. We're the smartest. We're the most respected. 2 years ago, we were a laughingstock all over the world. We had a terrible group of people representing us. Every leader, I just left G7. Every leader, and we had a lot of people in addition to G7, as you know, came. Everyone said, what we've done in a year and a half is a miracle. We have the hottest country in the world, and we want to keep it that way. We have more factories being built right now than we have at any point at any time in the history of our country. And all of those factories are opening up soon. It's all jobs. And our job numbers are incredible anyway. I see that oil just broke the $70 number. Who would have thought that was going to happen? And that's during a war. And Iran is being very nice. They're agreeing to everything that I want. And they have to. Otherwise, we just go back and do what we have to do. Thank you very much.
So the moral verdict lands on one line, on one name, in a black robe and a name at a microphone. Ted Lieu smeared, Denise Casper sabotaged. Lieu used an unidentified 79-year-old man to turn Congress into TMZ for regime loyalists. Casper used 59 pages out of a federal courtroom in Massachusetts to shield ballot receipt games, block proof of citizenship pressure, and kneecap voter ID enforcement. That's the machine. First, they whisper that Trump is terminally ill. Then they sprint to the bench to protect the very election disorder that he's trying to crush. Trump called these 99% issues because normal Americans understand them instantly. Legal voters matter. Ballots should not drift around for weeks, and a country that cannot verify citizenship at the ballot box is a country begging to get conned. So President Trump, he drew the line exactly where he should have drawn it. Not on some ceremonial photo op, not on a fake bipartisan sugar high, on election integrity, on the Save America Act, on proof of citizenship, voter ID, sane mail ballot limits, and a country that counts votes on time instead of feeding ballots into a blue state fog machine until the approved result pops out. Ted Lieu exposed just how low Democrats will sink when they cannot beat Trump head-on. Denise Casper exposed how fast the activist bench moves when election safeguards threaten the regime's favorite racket. Republicans in the Senate now have a choice: back Trump's hard line or help the machine survive. Drop a comment with the name of the senator who needs the most pressure tonight. And share this with someone sick of California-style ballot madness, and keep your eyes on the Hill. Trump picked the right fight, and the panic proved it. But I don't want you to panic when you don't get the news, and that's why I set up this number, 844-840-4963. Thousands and thousands of patriots are already texting the words raw feed to that number. They are now on the inside track, getting the news when the notification never arrives from YouTube, or they can't find us in the feeds anymore. Yeah, I want to make sure you get the news that you depend on. And I want to make sure you're celebrating with us as well. That's why we got this America 250 gear. We made it just for you. So check out the merch shelf below this video or at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Okay, yeah, that was fun. Man, I couldn't believe Ted Lieu. Man, I could not believe he did it. But Stephen Chung laid it out. That was the funniest tweet I've ever read. Dude, Stephen Chung does not hold back. I met him at the White House in his office once. Oh, that was good. Anyway, okay, so speaking of accountability, we got to go and talk a little bit deeper about Iran. The latest there, we got remarks from Rubio and the president today, as well as the Rute remarks from the Oval. So we've got that going on. Yes, it is my birthday. It is tomorrow, and I guess I'm turning 49. Yeah, 49 years old. I'm almost 50. I can't believe it. Wow. Yeah, so tomorrow I turn 49 years old. Okay. All right, we're going to go into the Iran action, the latest on the Strait of Hormuz, etc., etc. So I will be off tomorrow, celebrating with family. We got dinner reservations, and I might just take Friday off too. I might just say, you know what, we're going to take off Thursday. Let's have a nice big long birthday weekend. How about that? What do you think? Should I have a nice long birthday weekend? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Should I take Thursday, Friday off? Sometimes I feel I need to sometimes, just to get my head back. Dealing with this news all the time. I love it. I'm addicted to it. I do get that rush when I'm tracking news and I know what I'm about to present to you guys. But sometimes I just need to take a break. And I think a birthday is probably a good time to do so. Okay. At 7:37 this morning, Donald Trump blew up the fake narrative with one line in all caps: no tolls, no insurance costs, and no other charges of any kind. That's not a leak, and it's not a rumor. That's the President of the United States of America dictating terms to Iran after saying flat out, we're winning by a lot. And while Trump boxed Tehran in, cut off its Strait of Hormuz extortion racket, and pushed oil under $70, fake news and weak Senate Republicans scrambled to kneecap him in the middle of the deal. One side is forcing concessions, the other side is feeding chaos. Watch who chose what. See, this matters for one reason. Every working family feels before breakfast. Prices. You see, Trump crushed the phony Hormuz toll story, kept the shipping lane open free, and crude cracked below 70 for the first time since March 1st. And then he turned around and hammered big oil. because the pump still does not match the market. Trump said gas should be at $2.25 right now, and he backed it with a specific 19 million barrels came out yesterday. That's a flood, he said. That's how strength abroad turns into relief at home. Now name the saboteurs. The corporate press pushed troublemaking spin on inspections and tolls. A block of Senate Republicans voted for the Iran Powers Resolution 50-48 right in the middle of negotiations. Tommy Tuberville spelled it out on Fox. He said Trump called people out because Iran watches the Senate floor too. Marco Rubio laid the line from Switzerland, 60 days. Live up to the commitments or Trump has options. You see, that's leverage. The people trying to strip that leverage are not defending peace. They are dragging gasoline, trade, and American power back into the old Obama-Biden surrender model that already failed. And when Trump says gas should be at $2.25, and the cartel still gouges families, I look harder at anything that actually helps at home. I first saw Joe Rogan and Mel Gibson talk about serious health struggles, dramatic turnarounds, and light-based therapies with cellular-level impact. Gibson says it's straight, the stuff works. Then Jonathan Otto introduced us to red light therapy. My wife had constant discomfort and anxiety, and after home use, she started getting real restful sleep, improved recovery, and better energy. Now, these FDA devices, they use red and near-infrared wavelengths for deeper penetration and cellular-level support. NASA-backed research, support circulation, reduce inflammation. They even have PMF mats with full-body coverage and infrared heat for support for recovery and sleep. Go to myredlight.com. Use NNN25 for individual items or NNN30 for bundles. Strength wins at home, too. And here's the part the regime media still can't hide with a chyron. Trump did not just swat down tolls. He said American inspectors can go into Iran with the IAEA. That lands right on the lie machine that we've been torching all week. Trump says Tehran is agreeing in writing, in public, and under supervision. Then the same people who spent years feeding us foreign policy disasters suddenly want to lecture him about the process. Now I'm going to pull up the receipts. And I'm going to show you the split screen between Trump's terms and the panic from the people that he cornered. President Trump on Capitol Hill today says the war is going very well.
The war is going very well. As you know, we're winning by a lot. Iran is making very big concessions. We'll see what happens, but it's been very, very, very powerful. It's going very, very well.
Going very, very well. Fox reports the next pressure point American inspectors are going into Iran with IAEA to verify the nuclear side.
President Trump says this is a case of Iran agreeing to a deal, putting it in writing, and then in the public saying that it isn't true. President Trump insists that Tehran has agreed to allow those nuclear inspectors into the country, and the UN agency that would oversee that process agrees with him.
Paragraph 8 of this Memorandum of Understanding says explicitly that the nuclear activities that are going to be carried out with regards to the nuclear material facilities and will be supervised by the IAEA.
Iranian officials say any inspections would only come after a final deal is signed and is not a part of the original 60-day Memorandum of Understanding. But it's not just the inspections at the center of these contradictory statements between the U.S. and Iran. There's also some confusion regarding Israel's ongoing conflict with the Iranian.
So Trump says inspectors are part of the deal even as Tehran starts talking out of both sides of its mouth. Next, Netanyahu makes clear he didn't ask Washington for permission before moving on Iran. Netanyahu admits he did not ask Trump's permission. He says he was guided by the Israeli people and not Washington.
לא שהיתי להם. והובלתי את שאגת, יותר נכון, את עם תל אביב. בחרתי את השם הזה, עם תל אביב.
He says, I did not ask for permission. I simply notified him of our plan. I told Trump we're going to Iran. I did not wait for the rioters against us. He says he was guided by the Israeli people, not Washington, and was ready to fight with our two tails if necessary. So his message is blunt. Israel acted because the threat was real back here at home. Trump says Tehran is suddenly being very nice because it knows the alternative.
All of those factories are opening up soon. It's all jobs. And our job numbers are incredible anyway. I see that oil just broke the $70 number. Who would have thought that was going to happen? And that's during a war. And Iran is being very nice. They're agreeing to everything that I want. And they have to. Otherwise, we just go back and do what we have to do. Thank you very much.
So that's the leverage Trump's talking about. Agree or face the consequences, but while he's squeezing Iran overseas, the Senate just handed the swamp a chance to tie his hands with a war powers vote. U.S. Senate passed the Iran Powers Resolution, an act that blocks military action against Iran unless there's congressional authorization. If Trump strikes Iran again, he would have no way of justifying it under emergency executive power. The midterms are now effectively an election that will decide how much leverage Iran will have over the world. Now, I want to make a point here because I think there was actually a community note on this. I can't see the community note exactly at the moment here. But I think that this vote does not exactly tie his hands. But it's a move that attempts to undercut the commander-in-chief in the middle of a standoff. Meanwhile, the market's reacting fast, oil dropping after Trump's deal-making. Trump Daily Post, our streaming partner, had this to say: oil prices are crashing in the market today, rapidly approaching 60 to 70 per barrel range. Sharp decline comes as global supply increases and demand concerns growing following a recent Trump peace deal. So lower oil is one thing, lower gas prices for working Americans is another. Trump says big oil better stop dragging its feet at the pump. MAGA Voice posting, President Trump just put every oil company on notice to start dropping the prices at the pump much faster. Stop gouging customers. He wrote, the big oil companies are not, on True Social, he said the big oil companies are not dropping their price at the pump commensurate with the sharply lower prices they're paying for oil. Those prices are dropping like a rock. In other words, customers are being gouged. I have instructed the DOJ to immediately start looking into this. Gasoline prices better start going down a lot faster than what I'm seeing. So Trump putting all of the oil companies on notice, and the market numbers back him up. Crude crashes below 70 a barrel for the first time since March. The Kobesi letter, oil crashes below 70. You can see the market. Look at that drop. It just keeps going. $69.94. So oil is falling hard, but drivers are not seeing enough relief. Now Trump says the gouging probe is real from the Oval Office and warns the companies they'll be in big trouble if this keeps up.
It's ExxonMobil, it's Chevron, it's Shell, it's BP, it's a lot of them. The gasoline or the oil prices have come down so much, and we are not seeing anything at the pump by comparison to what it should be. We should be, in my opinion, at $2.25 right now at the pump. And we're higher than that. And we are doing a big investigation on it. Yeah, they're not reducing the prices commensurate with what's happening. Look, we are sending out, think of it, 19 million barrels came out yesterday. That is a flood. That's like a gusher. That's an oil gusher. And they should be much lower, the gasoline prices, which really is what people see more than anything else, but for their car. But the gasoline prices should be much lower at the pump. And the oil companies are possibly gouging. I hope they're not, otherwise they're going to be in big trouble. They're going to be in big trouble. We're not going to play games.
So Trump's not just talking about prices, he's threatening consequences on Capitol Hill. He's also calling out Republicans who crossed him on Iran.
Can you define that? Can you explain what that was like in there?
Well, it was like a halftime speech from a head coach. President Trump had a lot on his mind. He's got a lot on his mind all over the world. And so we expected a shorter talk, which he gave. Some people said, we'll be in there a couple hours. We weren't. This was a great talk by President Trump. He did call some people out for voting against the War Powers Act yesterday, right in the middle of negotiations, where they had some things worked out, and all of a sudden the Iranians see what's going on and say, what's going on? Your Senate just passed no war against Iran, which for any Republican to vote against that is ridiculous. Right in the middle of negotiations, President Trump's exactly right. You do not do that during negotiations. He's trying to save people's lives. He's trying to save the free world. And we got people who just just nonchalantly voting against President Trump. Not voting against something, but voting against President Trump, simply for the fact that they might not like some of the things he does. But overall, Martha, it was a great talk. One of the best I've heard President Trump give. Very emotional talk. We talked about the country. He talked about, the avenue that we need to take. We're in a very tough time getting ready for an election. The thing that I was excited about is he brought up all the situations to where we can get the Save America Act passed. And everywhere I go, everywhere all Republicans go across this country, and their line, if they don't tell you it's not true, is Save America Act is the number one thing that people want. They want fair elections. We just saw the nonsense in California, and we're seeing the nonsense of these communists taking over our country. And they're not socialists, they are communists. And so President Trump was exactly right. I'm proud of what he did today. He spoke up, he called people out. They had a very good conversation back and forth. But people need to be called out. If you're not going to vote for this country, my God, folks, we are in trouble. And President Trump needs help, and we're not giving him 100% help that he needs.
So you said you talked.
So Tuberville says Trump gave Senate Republicans a halftime speech and named names over the Iran vote. Meanwhile, a new threat report says Tehran may be eyeing Elon Musk-linked assets in the region. Iran is actively considering targeting Elon Musk-linked assets in the Middle East. Fars news agency, a state-aligned media outlet, reported the Starlink infrastructure and SpaceX-connected facilities in countries like Israel, Qatar, Jordan, and the UAE are being reviewed. So that tells you exactly what we're dealing with. Regime still thinking like terrorists while pretending to negotiate. Next, Marco Rubio lays out the 60-day test and reminds Iran Trump still has plenty of options.
Obviously, anytime you enter into a negotiation, it's a process of give and take. This is a temporary measure. It's for 60 days. And as a result, we expect them to live up to the commitments they made in Switzerland. If they don't live up to those commitments, the president has a lot of options at his disposal, including, I'm not saying he's going to do it, I'm saying including reversing these sanctions. They made very straight up commitments in Switzerland, and the president has been very clear they need to keep those commitments. If they do, we'll keep forward. If not, the president will have options at his disposal for what to do about it. Let's hope they keep those commitments.
So Rubio says the deal is temporary and the clock is ticking on the promises. Now he draws a hard line on the strait. No fees, no tolls, no racket.
Concerns at all that the GCC is planning to meet with Oman and Iran to discuss this new quote-unquote mechanism that the Iranians have floated?
No, I think they'll be against it. I think the whole world will be against any mechanism that charges money to use an international waterway. It's that simple. The president's already said it. That's not going to happen. When we mean open the straits, we mean open the straits free in international waterways. So we'll express that tomorrow. I am certain that not only will every country in the Gulf region be supportive, probably with the exception of Iran, but all the GCC members will be supportive, but the whole world will be supportive. I know of no country on the planet that supports tolling or a fee for the use of the straits. That's not going to happen. The president has been abundantly clear.
So he says the world would reject any attempt. Then Trump gets even more direct, saying any final deal with shipping fees would be dead on arrival.
Would you block a final Iran deal if it included any kind of fees on shipping?
Yeah, no, it would be unacceptable to me because we have numerous straits, and if you did that for them, you'd have to do it for other people. You have other straits. I wouldn't allow it there either. Yeah, it would be a game changer.
So Trump just made it official. Fees in the strait are unacceptable. Next, he turned his fire on the weak-kneed allies, saying several NATO countries were a letdown while America handled Iran. Mark Rutte in the Oval Office with President Trump today.
Well, let me just say, he's been a friend of mine. He's a great guy, great leader, great Secretary General. Everybody respects him. And I appreciate your nice words, but you really have done a good job. And I think if anybody else were in that position, we wouldn't even be meeting today, to be honest with you, because we were let down. We didn't need help on this at all. We've demolished them in literally the first week. But it would have been nice if they would have said, we'd like to help. We didn't even need it, but it would have been nice if they said that. They didn't say it. But as Secretary General, and he's the boss of the whole operation, he was, I believe if I would have called him, and I didn't bother doing that because I was doing individual countries just to take the temperature and see how they were doing. But I think if I would have called him, he probably would have found a way to help if we needed it. I feel, would have been a little bit different. But I was disappointed. I was disappointed with Italy. I was disappointed with the UK. He's now gone. And, he had a lot of problems. But we were disappointed with the UK. We were disappointed with Germany and France. We were disappointed with most of them. Spain is a horror show. Spain is terrible, even from your standpoint. I mean, they don't want to pay anything. They think they're in for a free ride. Spain is not a good group. Not a good group at all. But I have great respect for this man. And so we're going to be discussing what took place. And we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Can I answer to?
So after blasting fair weather allies and for hanging back Trump moves to shut down the media spin himself in Truth Social posts, he says Iran is seeking no tolls, no insurance costs, and no side payments. Iran has informed the U.S. that despite trouble making fake news reporting to the contrary, there are no tolls, no insurance costs, no other charges of any kind being sought or received by Iran on ships traveling in the Strait. This is false information. Negotiations would end immediately. Additionally, no money has been given to Iran or released from the money to them by the U.S. We will be releasing some of their money that is totally controlled by us to our farmers and ranchers for the purchase of corn, wheat, soybeans, and more. So that is a post from Truth Social. So the post is his answer to the fake news noise, no tolls, no fees, and Rubio backs up next saying Gulf allies and the rest of the world will never accept Iran charging for the Strait.
This new quote-unquote mechanism that the Iranians have floated?
No, I think.
So the moral test hit when 50 senators voted to pass the Iran Powers Resolution in the middle of Trump's negotiations. Tommy Tuberville didn't sugarcoat it. Trump called people out. Good. He should have, because while Donald Trump forced Iran to swallow no tolls, no insurance costs, and no other charges of any kind, a handful of Republicans chose that exact moment to flash division to Tehran. Add the fake toll spin from legacy media and the freeloading posture from the leaders in the UK, Germany, France, and Spain, and the pattern snaps into focus. Donald Trump is carrying the hard part. The cartel is trying to claw back control before the win gets too obvious to deny. So let's just keep the scoreboard simple, all right? Trump says the war is going very well. We're winning by a lot. Iran is agreeing to everything that I want. Rubio says the Strait stays open, free. Oil drops below 70. Trump says gas should be at 225 and warns the gougers they're going to be in big trouble. That's not drift. That's command. Now the accountability part. Every Republican who voted to tie Trump's hands during negotiation needs to answer by name. Every outlet that shoved the fake toll story needs to wear that failure in public. Every oil company dragging its feet while crude oil drops like a rock needs the DOJ breathing down its neck. And you shouldn't let any of them hide. So send this to the people still pretending strength and weakness look the same. Drop the names in the comments. I want to know which senator you think sold out the leverage. See, Trump's got the upper hand. The enemy at home just exposed itself again. And I want to make sure that you get the news that you depend on. That's why I set up this telephone number, 844-840-4963. Thousands and thousands of patriots are getting the news that YouTube never sends. When those notifications don't arrive, I will send you the notifications direct to your phone. All you got to do is text raw feed to that number on the screen. What are you waiting for? And are you celebrating yet? I know, it's America 250. It's a big year, big celebration. Make sure you get some America 250 gear from the Next News Network by going to the merch shelf below this video or going to shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. All right. Yes, I read the comments, guys. I do read the chat. Oh, yeah. Okay. Where are we going from here? We got to talk about the fraud and the butt-naked Medicare racket. Yeah, that actually happened. So we're going to get to the next topic, and then we're going to give you the latest on the America 250 celebrations, the manhunt underway with respect to the reflecting pool, and that viral video of that DEI hire from J.P. Morgan. Oh, yeah. She F-A-F-O. A boat named Butt Naked, a Rolls-Royce Phantom, a beach resort in the Philippines, and the money behind that luxury spree came from American taxpayers, hospice patients, students, seniors, and even dead strangers. That racket exploded because President Trump put adults back in charge. Dr. Oz said it in one line that hit like a hammer. The best prescription for a fraudster? Prosecution. Exactly, not another memo, not another consultant panel, prosecution. And now Trump's team has blocked nearly $200 million in student aid fraud in just 60 days, while the Justice Department rips open a $6.5 billion healthcare fraud machine. Wait till you hear what Los Angeles fraudsters build in the names of the dead. See, the story matters because it hits the place every honest American feels first, your wallet and your family. When crooks drain Medicare, TRICARE, and federal student aid, they're not stealing from some faceless blob in Washington. They're stealing from a student trying to pay tuition, from a senior counting on Medicare, from a terminally ill patient, from a family already hanging by a thread. Under the Biden administration, weak oversight and loopholes let a fraud industrial complex feast. Trump came back and blew that culture up. His administration required government-issued ID for FAFSA and stopped nearly $200 million from vanishing into fraud in just 60 days. That, my friends, is competent government. And then came the hammer on healthcare fraud. $6.5 billion in alleged false medical claims exposed. 455 suspects charged. Cases across 56 federal districts and 45 states and territories, and more than $182 million in cash, cars, jewelry, and luxury assets all seized. Los Angeles got named for what it is, a hotbed for hospice fraud inside Gavin Newsom's blue state chaos machine. See, Los Angeles got tagged a hotbed for hospice fraud, and that same rigged bureaucracy mindset traps seniors in the Medicare confusion industrial complex. Chapter, though, cuts through it. They're simple by design. One call, one advisor, under 20 minutes. They look at your doctor, look at your prescription, your whole situation, and tell you the truth. No propaganda, just facts. They work for you, not big insurance. If you're already on the right plan, they'll say it. If not, they can help you switch. It's free. Last year, people who found new plans with Chapter saved an average of $1,100. See, clarity is how you stop bureaucrats gaming seniors. So call that number on the screen, 910-728-4109. Don't let the same system that let parasites loot taxpayers keep your family stuck in a bad Medicare plan. Take control before the bureaucrats and insurers skim one more dollar. Now here's the detail that should make your blood boil. Federal prosecutors say that one Los Angeles hospice operator billed Medicare using the names and personal information of dead people that his business never even treated, grabbing up to $33,000 per patient per year. Dead strangers, not paperwork errors, not technical mistakes. Dead strangers turned into inventory. And Fox cameras caught the FBI hauling suspects away in Southern California as Trump's DOJ stacked 10 more indictments under the biggest healthcare fraud crackdown in American history. I'm going to show you the receipts because the receipts are savage, just like this post from Dr. Oz.
Of us agree with the president and the vice president that the best prescription for a fraudster is prosecution.
So that was the Trump line from the DOJ and CMS. Fraud gets prosecuted, period. The crackdown isn't just in healthcare. Education Department says a simple ID requirement stopped nearly $200 million in student aid fraud in just 60 days. The Trump administration prevented nearly $200 million from falling into the hands of fraudsters, and we're just getting started. Trump admin requiring government-issued IDs to apply for federal student aid saved $200 million in fraud in 2 months. The real-time screening built into FAFSA form stops fraudsters before money goes out the door. So the pattern is clear. Basic safeguards are blocking fraud before the money walks out. Now, look at the kind of racket we're dealing with. Prosecutors say one alleged scammer blew taxpayer cash on diamonds, supercars, and even a boat called Butt Naked. Dr. Oz, a beach resort in the Philippines, sees supercars and jewelry worth $2 million locked in a home safe. That's how fraudster Marisol Yuki spent your taxpayer money while targeting terminally ill hospice patients, according to allegations. In just 18 months, she billed Medicare and TRICARE over $900 million, $1 million per patient. Her actions were a systematic plunder of our healthcare safety net at the expense of the most vulnerable. Justice Department and CMS just put an end to her lavish lifestyle and defrauding beneficiaries. There she is. Oh, wow. Would you ever suspect it? Well, now she's going to be wearing an orange jumpsuit. New York Post headline, Trump crackdown uncovers $6.5 billion in fraud. Your taxes were wasted on diamonds, Ferraris, and a boat named Butt Naked. So the case shows how brazen these people got while Washington looked the other way. Next to numbers on the Trump crackdown, $6.5 billion alleged false claims, 455 suspects charged, and assets seized across the country. Rapid Response 47, historic healthcare fraud crackdown, more to come. And they offer this screenshot. $6.5 billion crackdown on false medical claims, 455 suspects charged, cases spanning 56 federal districts, 45 states and territories, $182 million plus in cash, cars, jewelry, and other assets seized. 10 new indictments. So the numbers are massive. But some of the ugliest cases are hitting California. Dr. Oz is about to zero in on Los Angeles, where one accused hospice operator allegedly billed for dead strangers and lived large on $27 million in taxpayer money. He says preying on the vulnerable Americans not in need of hospice care. $27 million used to live in luxury. The fraudster is just one of the 455 worst of the worst taken down by our fraud partner, our White House fraud task force partners. Los Angeles is a hotbed for hospice fraud.
This fraudster, he had a few tactics. He would prey on vulnerable people who did not need hospice and then also bill the government for deceased strangers.
Fox was there as Oren Sachar was arrested by the FBI in Los Angeles, charged with stealing 27 million taxpayer dollars in a hospice fraud scheme, allegedly using some of that money to buy this Rolls-Royce Phantom.
He was living the high life. He was making millions of dollars fraudulently and is very brazen. And he finally got caught, and now he's looking at significant prison time.
Federal prosecutors say Sachar operated multiple fraudulent hospices, including one spelled as Holy Trinity. Sachar billed Medicare using names and personal information of dead people that his hospice never treated, getting up to $33,000 per patient a year. Prosecutors are also charging two accomplices, including this man, Abraham Shin, who allegedly helped connect Sachar with Jeannie Choi, the manager of a mortuary, who gave Sachar names of people who recently passed in exchange for cash. Medicare Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz says Los Angeles' 1,800 hospices make up roughly 1/3 of the hospice licenses nationwide. The Trump administration is scrutinizing home health and hospices and has suspended 800 California licenses.
We're going to keep aggressively going at this problem because when we go after hospice in California, guess what happens? Hospice in Nevada went up 7-fold. Hospice in Arizona, hospice in Texas, they've all gone up. These scoundrels run to other areas.
And Governor Newsom's office says it hates fraud.
Yeah, sure it does. So what you just saw in Los Angeles, the human face of the scam, dead identities, fake hospice claims, luxury cars bought with your money. Now Fox walks us through the next wave of arrests in Southern California as the DOJ adds 10 more defendants to this historic $6.5 billion crackdown. Trump Daily Post, our streaming partner. Federal prosecutors just arrested and charged 10 more in Southern California. The bus target elaborate schemes involving sham prescriptions and fake hospice care in the greater Los Angeles area.
The Justice Department has indicted 10 additional suspected fraudsters as part of the nation's largest combined healthcare fraud crackdown in history. Fox cameras were on it last night in Los Angeles when the FBI arrested defendants at the center of a $27 million Medicare scheme that took advantage of hospice patients. Prosecutors say one of the conspirators sold personal information of living and deceased patients to the owner of hospice facilities that he used to file fake claims for medical care. Gross. And the amount of theft is staggering. The Justice Department says $6.5 billion in healthcare fraud have been uncovered so far, involving more than 455 suspects across 45 states and territories. Law enforcement has seized more than $182 million in cash, cars, and other luxury assets. Look, we've seen this week with, the rollout of Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche and the big numbers of what they're making happen. But every day now, they have said, from that day as yesterday, expect more.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we're talking about billions and billions of dollars. I mean, on the Medicare side, it's tens of billions. And when you consider all of healthcare spending, it's probably in the hundreds of billions of dollars. And you hope that AI, this is one of those things that you kind of hope technology can help solve at some level, that AI can catch these anomalies, can create a situation where the prosecutors have an easier way to prove the crime. Because we know that these fraudsters are quite sophisticated, and it's really sad to see these people driving these expensive cars, wearing all this luxury stuff at the expense of the most vulnerable people in our communities.
So Marizel Yuki stands at the rotten center of this nightmare. Prosecutors say she billed Medicare and TRICARE more than $900 million in just 18 months, about $1 million per patient, while targeting terminally ill hospice patients. Then she turned that theft into a beach resort in the Philippines, seized supercars and jewelry worth $2 million locked in a home safe. Another Los Angeles operator, according to prosecutors, used taxpayer money to buy a Rolls-Royce Phantom after billing the government for dead strangers. That's not random fraud. That is predation. These people looked at the sick, the elderly, and the dead, and they saw an ATM. Trump's team looked at them and saw prison. Good. Keep going. Strip every asset, claw back every dime, humiliate every parasite in public. And notice what ties every piece of this together. Trump's people did not beg the swamp to behave better. They changed the system, tightened the screen, made people show ID for FAFSA, blocked nearly $200 million in fraud before the money even left the door, then kicked in the door on the bigger racket with prosecutions, arrests, and seizures. That's law and order with teeth. That's accountability restored. It also exposes a darker truth about blue state corruption, especially in Los Angeles under Gavin Newsom. This was not a glitch. It was a business model. And too many people got rich while decent Americans got robbed. So yes, celebrate this win. A massive one. But do not let up for a second. I want more arrests, more names, more clawbacks, more perp walks. And drop your take below. Send this to somebody who still thinks that Trump is the chaotic one. And watch who suddenly gets very quiet when the thieves start getting charged. And see, I don't want you to miss out. When the noise gets loud, when the news is created, I want to make sure you get the news that deserve, that you rely on. Text the words raw feed to 844-840-4963. Thousands and thousands of patriots are already on the inside track with the Next News Network. They're getting the notifications directly from me when YouTube never sends them. Make sure you get on the inside track too. And since we're celebrating all these wins, celebrate America 250 with the Next News Network by going to the merch shelf below this video or going to shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Okay, we've been tracking the drama from the reflecting pool and all the festivities of America 250. President Trump had some remarks in the Oval Office today. We're going to present those to you, as well as new video from the reflecting pool. Some fencing. It's really sad that they've got to do this. The left has just lost their frickin' minds. Okay, let's go into this next story here. Six arrests. 6 or 7 more under investigation. And why? Because, as President Trump put it, thugs went after the reflecting pool with probably a box cutter and started ripping up the liner of one of America's most iconic public spaces right before the country's 250th birthday celebration. The one detail tells you everything. Trump restored the National Mall, got the reflecting pool back to beautiful blue, and the anti-American Democrat culture answered with sabotage, slime, and criminal destruction. Now you've got fencing, surveillance tools, and troops guarding a pool because radicals cannot stand the sight of a patriotic capital under Donald Trump. That's the story, and it gets worse for the vandals. You see, this matters because the reflecting pool is not some random patch of pavement. It's your capital, your monuments, your tax dollars, your country's front yard 2 weeks before America's 250th birthday. And anti-American radicals turned it into a target. President Trump spelled it out. 6 have been arrested, and like 6 or 7 are under investigation. He laid out the method too. He said these thugs probably went with a box cutter or a sharp razor, cut the expensive liner, started ripping it up. That's not a protest. That is vandal warfare against a national symbol. And look at the result. Fencing going up around the reflecting pool, new surveillance tools lining the edge, troops patrolling to make sure nobody touches the water. Families should be walking through a restored patriotic mall. Instead, America has to guard it from the Democrat culture of filth that celebrates algae, sneers at order, and panics whenever Trump makes Washington look proud, clean, and unmistakably American again. See, when things need box cutters to wreck a national symbol, I want something stronger than the junk that the regime pushes. And after trying hundreds of supplements, C60 Evo crushed everything else. This Nobel Prize-winning molecule is not just another antioxidant. It works at the cellular level, where aging actually happens. My brain fog gone. Joint pain virtually eliminated. My wife's skin looks 10 years younger. My energy, 20 years younger. See, the Paris study called it the longest life extension in history. Lab animals live 90% longer. So that means I'm not going away. Hate to break it to the haters. See, this is 172 times more powerful than vitamin C. It's worth more than gold per ounce, and they've been making it since '91 in a Houston lab. Get exclusive savings, more energy, clearer thinking, better skin, and feel young again at c60evo.com/NNN. Use code NNN at checkout. Build, don't rot. Now here's the part that the legacy media just can't spin away. While troops patrolled the water and fencing boxed off the reflecting pool, the celebration itself kept roaring ahead. One outlet on the ground called America 250 a real carnival atmosphere. Military bands filed in. The Air Force choir filed in. Families came to celebrate anyway. See, that contrast kills the Democrat narrative. Their side brought razors, algae theater, and misery. Trump brought order, blue water, music, and a national birthday party. Now I'm going to show you what everyone's talking about, because the visuals alone bury the propagandists. Emily Miller. The Great American State Fair starts tonight with President Trump's rally. Enthusiasm is contagious. Just getting started. But back in D.C., crews already locking down the reflecting pool of fencing, going up in the rain. So sad that they have to do this. The left has just lost its freaking minds. So the barricade is going up next. Here's the surveillance towers and troop patrols lining the edge of the pool to stop any more tampering. That's what it's come to. So not just a routine setup. Now Trump explains why, saying 6 have already been arrested after thugs sliced up the pool liner. Here he is in the Oval Office talking about the vandalism at the reflecting pool.
The pool? Yeah. It's in great shape. No. Ready? Thugs. They just told me a little while ago 6 have been arrested and like 6 or 7 are under investigation. They have pictures and everything else. They went to the bottom, and it's not a paint job. It's very expensive. It's not rubber, but it's like rubber. And they went down with probably a box cutter or a very sharp razor of some kind or knife, and they cut, and then they started ripping it up. You know why? Because they're sick people. And then the side of the pool, right at water level, they took razors and they started cutting this, very expensive stuff. It's incredible stuff. It's beautiful. And it was and it's still beautiful. But we have one area where they cut it, it's still holding, it's not leaking. But they heard it. So in about probably maybe after July 4th or maybe before, I don't know, we'll let a little water out because it's at the edge. They'll cut it, they'll replace it, and it'll be as good as new. But these people should go to jail for a long time. There's a statute that I signed when I had my first term, that if you do anything to hurt statues or monuments, fountains in Washington, D.C., or federal fountain, it's actually federal all over the country, but you go to jail for 10 years and there's no shortcuts. In other words, it's not 5 years for good behavior. It's a very tough statute, and so tough that it really hasn't been used very much over the years. But I used it when they had a problem in Washington where they were trying to hurt, the sickos were trying to hurt things. And I announced it. As soon as I announced it, read it, announced it, and I said 10 years for anybody, everybody dropped what they had, including ropes. They had ropes. They were tying ropes around Thomas Jefferson's head, Andrew Jackson right up there. They had a rope around his head on that incredible statue. I said, as soon as I invoked it, everybody left. That's still in play. They could go to jail for 10 years. They better be careful. They have a gash on that beautiful pool. It's a reflecting one. This is the very expensive material. Then on top of it, we did a much bigger job than we said we were going to do because we did all the outer areas and everything. We did a beautiful job. It's like a piece of glass. And for some reason, this disturbed the radical left lunatics. One of the guys, he's a member or a big payer to Act Blue. He's a big Hillary supporter. He's a big supporter of Sleepy Joe Biden. This is a very political thing. But as I understand it, 6 are under arrest. This was pure vandalism. It's an amazing thing that we did. Don't forget, it hasn't worked properly since it was built because it always leaked in 1922. So it was built in 1922. So that's 100 years more ago. It's never worked properly. I always say it had great potential.
So Trump says it was deliberate vandalism. Suspects could face serious time next. We check on the pool itself where crews are still dealing with the mess in the water. Pumping ozone into the water kills the algae. But it is looking much better now. Beautiful blue. Much better. So after the sabotage and the cleanup, here's the result. Liberals hated seeing the reflecting pool turning blue again. Trump getting the credit. Here is Ben Bergquam.
Made it down to the reflecting pond, and it's blue, baby. Yes, God bless America. The question I have for the liberals, especially the miserable ones out here wearing their algae outfits that are celebrating the algae that they put in there, what are you running for? Do you have any policies other than hating President Trump, hating ICE, and hating babies? That seems to be all the Democrats run on anymore. God bless America. It looks beautiful. You don't have to be a miserable liberal. You too can be happy. Reject the lies, reject the hate, invite Jesus into your heart. Not jihad, not communism. You need Jesus.
Amen.
Rashida, you need Jesus. Enjoy the blue, baby. Beautiful blue. Look at that. That is awesome. Very nice. Nice job, President Trump. And your pool guy.
Ben Berquam. Pool looking sharp again, but the damage done by the left didn't end there. More from the fenced-off grounds and the surveillance units. So even with the fences and the cameras cluttering the mall, celebration moved forward next. Real America's Voice shows the America 250 kickoff, drawing a packed crowd and full-on carnival atmosphere.
Right, so we're in a riser between the Capitol and the Washington Monument. So the Washington Monument is actually behind the stage. But what we've been seeing over the last, say, half hour is hundreds of members of military bands and the Air Force Choir. You have the Army Marching Band, the Army Rock and Roll Band called Downrange. You have the Marine Corps Band. They're all filing in. They're all getting ready. About 15 minutes ago, there were about 40 or 50 members of the Diplomatic Corps who are being brought in, and other luminaries are being brought in. And sort of over my right shoulder, Luke, I don't know if you can swing over there, but this sort of the distinguished visitors section over my right shoulder, and their people are just, I know things are tense and I know there's a lot going on, but I think people are taking a breather. A lot of sort of staffers and operatives and contributors are really buying into this celebration. And so you're seeing people connect and mix and network, and it's a real carnival atmosphere here, Steve.
Neil McCabe with Real America's Voice. Met him a few times at the White House. That man is a true asset to real journalism. And some of the stories he shared with me, man, he knows where the bodies are buried. Pay attention to his reporting. That's why I do it. So, the moral verdict, it lands right on that torn liner. President Donald Trump restored a national showpiece for America's 250th. Anti-American Democrat culture answered by slashing it with probably a box cutter. Then Washington had to throw up fencing, roll out surveillance tools, and post troops around the reflecting pool like it was a crime scene, because it was. And every Democrat operative who spent weeks sneering at the restoration, hyping algae, and treating a pool like a propaganda prop helped build the climate for this garbage. These people do not create beauty, they attack it. They do not unite the country, they punish anybody who loves it. Trump cleaned the pool. The radicals cut it. That contrast is so brutal, even the media parasites can't hide from it now. So remember the image that matters. Not the staged sneering, not the algae costumes, not the usual CNN pool detective routine. Remember the before and after. Fencing going up, surveillance units parked by the water, troops guarding the reflecting pool after vandals ripped it with blades, and then remember the other image, the reflecting pool back to beautiful blue. America 250 rolling with a real carnival atmosphere, military bands filing in, the Air Force Choir stepping up, and the Great American State Fair kicking off with a President Trump rally and contagious enthusiasm. That's the whole fight in one frame. Trump builds, Democrats deface. Trump restores, the radicals rot. Jail the vandals for a long time. Name every Democrat who fed this poison and stop calling these people harmless. If that fires you up, send this to one person who still thinks this is just politics. It's your country's birthday, and patriots are taking it back. And I want to make sure you take back the notifications that never arrive. That's why I set up this number. That's why I talk about it at the end of every segment. It's so important. Thousands and thousands of patriots are already on the inside track getting the news direct from me. They're texting the words raw feed to 844-840-4963. I want you to do it too. What are you waiting for? It's time to get on the inside track with the next news network. And let's celebrate America 250 together. Go to the Next News merch shelf below this video or shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Okay, I just text Neil a picture of him on screen. Okay, speaking of loony liberals, you guys see that viral video today? Oh, yeah. The DEI executive from J.P. Morgan. Yeah, she FAFO. Big time. Oh, and it's so embarrassing. Wait till you see how much she actually... how much the garbage can cost. You could actually buy it. And now she's out of a, what, $300,000 a year job? You're going to see it all right now. J.P. Morgan Executive Director of Community and Industry Engagement dumped a full public trash can onto a Manhattan sidewalk so she could steal the blue and orange Knicks bin for herself. Then Angie Baez hauled it onto the subway and posed with it like she had just won a trophy. That image is the whole DEI era in one filthy frame. Not service, not merit, not discipline, entitlement with a corporate title. J.P. Morgan only moved after millions of normal Americans saw the clip and laughed them into action. And once you hear what New York Sanitation called the stunt, the humiliation gets even better. See, the story matters because millions of Americans know this racket in their bones. They worked harder, studied longer, played by the rules, and still watched the giant corporations like J.P. Morgan hand prestige jobs to ideology-first mediocrites wrapped in fashionable HR language. Angie Baez did not just make a mess at a parade. She ripped the mask off an entire hiring regime. Her title was Executive Director. Her portfolio included community and industry engagement. Her prior work included diversity, equity, and inclusion. Then she trashed the community in broad daylight to swipe a souvenir that retailed for $168. That's not just bad judgment. That is a character reveal backed by a corporate culture that prized optics over excellence. New York Sanitation crushed her stunt as illegal, antisocial, and incredibly stupid. Good. Under President Trump, the age of untouchable institutional fraud keeps on cracking. The deep state got hit in government. Now the same sunlight is blasting corporate America. One firing does not clean out the machine, but it proves the machine can bleed. See, Angie Baez, she dumped a city trash can for a cheap souvenir. And that kind of elite short-term thinking wrecks people. See, I look at money the opposite way. Noble Gold Investments keeps hammering the point. See, that the point that suits ignore. Silver as the next oil. Think about buying oil before the world ran on it. It's a critical resource in solar panels, electric vehicles, defense systems, AI infrastructure, and massive data centers. That means growing demand for the metal the future depends on, and it's still affordable enough that the average American can start accumulating physical silver now to protect against inflation and gain exposure to strategic resources. Go to nextnewsgold.com and mention my name. With a new qualified account, Noble Gold can send you a 1/10 ounce gold coin. While the DEI class chased props, serious Americans can stack real assets. Now here's the detail that turns this from funny to perfect. Angie Baez did not torch her career over some priceless collector's item. People found the same 2026 Champions Edition sanitation basket online for $168. $168. That's the price tag hanging around the neck of a six-figure corporate vanity job that J.P. Morgan stuffed into its DEI bureaucracy. Oh, I'm going to show you the receipts because the internet spotted exactly what the bank tried to hide for years. See, it was never about excellence. It was about a protected class with executive badges. Fox News posting this, a J.P. Morgan DEI executive emptied a full trash can into the street during the Knicks championship parade. Now she's out of a job. Yeah. What are you doing? So after the New York Post contacted J.P. Morgan about the incident, the company confirmed she's no longer employed. She wasn't the only one causing chaos in the city. Fans climbed on cars, trucks, and anything else they could find to celebrate. See, the viral parade clip, it cost her job. Now we put the name and the face to it. Angie Baez, the longtime DEI executive who allegedly hauled the Knicks trash can onto the subway. Publius writes, retard update. During the Knicks championship parade, a woman dumped a full public trash can on the NYC sidewalk to steal the limited edition blue and orange Knicks bin and then rides the subway home with it. She's Angie Baez, a longtime DEI executive, promoted to executive director at J.P. Morgan, previously DEI lead at the Infatuation. J.P. Morgan fired her after the video went mega viral. NYC Sanitation called it illegal, antisocial, and incredibly stupid. The irony is actually insane. Was firing her justified or overkill for a stupid souvenir heist? So now you know who Angie Baez is and how J.P. Morgan responded. Next, the internet turns the whole fiasco into a brutal side-by-side meme. Trash on the sidewalk and cash out the door. Leftist moron stealing a trash can after the Knicks win. Leftist moron losing a six-figure DEI position at J.P. Morgan Chase. What a moron. So the meme makes the point fast. One dumb stunt. Six-figure career gone. Next up, a creator walks through the full timeline from the street dump to the firing and the sanitation backlash.
Full story of 40-year-old Angie Baez, the DEI hire. DEI never beating the allegations. Who was fired from her executive role at JP Morgan for stealing a Knicks trash can, dumping the trash out on the street, getting on the train, and then posing for a picture. Shameless. So this is her role at JP Morgan. She was promoted more than a year ago to Executive Director of Community and Industry Engagement, and that's for card and connected commerce. Now get this, this is her prior DEI work. She served as an Executive Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the Infatuation, which is a NYC restaurant review media company that was acquired by Chase. She had a public professional presence, emphasis on public presence, right? Tied to community engagement and DEI initiative, right? So obviously this video went super viral, racking up millions of views. And then, of course, after an investigation by Chase, right, they fired her, right, after they could identify her, right? And the company spokesperson confirmed that this employee is no longer working for JP Morgan and Chase. On top of that, the NYC Sanitation, right, they came out after her saying they condemned it, right, saying it was illegal and antisocial, right? There's been no formal complaints filed, so no charges.
So you got the blow by blow on how the parade turned into a corporate embarrassment. Now watch the internet mockery go even harder with a garbage pail kid style takedown. Trashy Trisha. Oh my goodness. Remember Garbage Pail Kids? Oh man. I had the whole collection. Oh man, those were great. Garbage Pail Kids. Trashy Trisha. Perfect. So from the viral scandal straight up parody, the ridicule kept coming, but the next clip takes the bigger question. How does someone with this background end up at the top slot at J.P. Morgan? J.P. Morgan hiring her with this resume is a bigger crime than her dumping the trash on the sidewalk. Okay, what did she do? Should we look at her resume? Managed cross-departmental projects from inception to completion with emphasis on timely delivery, responsible for technical program management, optimized cross-department communication, partnered with Q&A team, deliver technical documentation, trained hundreds of new hires, contributed as art director for One Hope First mobile app, lead designer, illustrator, worked closely with the executive team to formulate, organize, execute interconnected projects. Thank you for your consideration. Yep, you're going to have to update your resume now, Angie. So J.P. Morgan hired a DEI executive with an associate degree in art. White men with master's degree in advanced subjects can't even get jobs after being locked out. Our largest companies and our government in the U.S. are at open war with white people. So the frustration is obvious. Merit shoved aside for ideology. Next reaction cranks it up on the salary and the art degree. This fat slob was making $300,000 a year, hired by J.P. Morgan with an art degree. So the criticism moves from identity politics to pure dollars and cents. Next, we go back to the receipts, including the subway photo with the Knicks trash bucket in tow. Here she is, on the subway with the trash bucket. On the subway home. What makes it even more ridiculous is the next detail. She could have just bought one of these baskets for $168. Hope it was worth it. The New York City collection, home waste basket, 2026 Champion Edition, $168. How stupid. $168 souvenir, and instead it turned into a public humiliation. Next, fallout gets more concrete because losing J.P. Morgan's job wasn't the only penalty she got hit with. In addition to losing her job, she was hit with $175 worth of fines. The fines! She could have, with what her fines are, she could have bought the damn basket. The Department of Sanitation confirmed she turned over the stolen goods herself and fined her for $75 for littering and $100 for impeding operations. Welcome back. They got it back. Oh my goodness. No household trash, no business trash. $100 fine. We missed you. So it wasn't just termination. City Sanitation added fines and got the basket. Next, Greg Gutfeld takes the mess and turns it into a broadside against the DEI machine itself on the 5.
How thrilled is J.P. Morgan Chase? Yes. They were able to fire a DEI person. Yeah. You can never get rid of these people. You get this film, a clear-cut case for canning her. They obviously she was dead weight, a DEI hire that fails upward through the DEI bureaucracy, which is a system created for its own survival. You cannot fire them. They are bulletproof. Businesses have found out that it's easy to hire them, but impossible to fire them. She ticks a box, and if you dare discipline or fire them, you will be called racist, and they will sue. So you can't judge them on their competence. All you can do is just pour the money into that big gaping mouth of hers. This is a video that saved their human resources a ton of money. How many companies saw this and were like, why did we send our entire DEI department to the parade? We should next parade tell the DEI department they're not going to be working anyway because she wasn't at work.
Dead weight indeed. So the peak insult sits right there in the picture from the subway car. She smiles beside the stolen Knicks trash basket after dumping a full can of garbage onto the street. She posed with the evidence. No shame, no urgency to clean up what she wrecked. Just the smug grin of somebody trained by the corporate DEI culture to think consequences belong to other people. J.P. Morgan didn't get blindsided by one bad afternoon. J.P. Morgan built the conditions for it when it promoted ideology and called it leadership. New York Sanitation nailed it better than any consultant ever could. Illegal, antisocial, and incredibly stupid. That line belongs on the tombstone of the entire DEI corporate class. Not because one executive got caught, but because one executive got caught acting exactly like the system that elevated her. So celebrate the firing. It was overdue. Celebrate the fines, too. Angie Baez got hit for $75 for littering, $100 for impeding operations, and she turned the stolen bin over herself. Fine, good. But do not let J.P. Morgan pretend the cleanup ends there. Jamie Dimon runs a bank that helped normalize this ideology-first nonsense across corporate America, and one viral embarrassment does not erase years of sidelining qualified people while the DEI priesthood cashed checks. The Trump administration keeps proving that protected bureaucrats and institutional freeloaders are not immortal. Voters broke the regime in Washington, and now consumers and viewers are breaking it in the boardrooms. Keep naming names. Keep sharing clips like this and force every company that played this game to explain who got passed over, who got paid, and who lowered the standard. A woman stole a trash can in New York. The country saw a hiring system getting dragged to the curb. But I don't want you to miss out on what's important. And that's why I set up this number. 844-840-4963. Thousands and thousands of patriots have already texted the words raw feed. They're getting the inside scoop when the notifications never arrive from YouTube. Why? Because I'm sending them direct to your phone. Get on the list. Make sure you stay on the inside track with the Next News Network. And let's celebrate all these wins by celebrating America 250 together. Go to the merch shelf below this video or go to shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Okay, that's a wrap tonight, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And like I said, tomorrow is my 49th birthday. So I'm going to take a break, go have dinner with the family, and just celebrate some time. I might take Friday off too. I haven't quite decided yet. But so it's, you know, it's so hard for me. Like, you know, I feel like I just got to keep just, I can't stay out of the news. I can't. I'm always scrolling. I'm always reading. I'm always researching. I'm always checking. Because I want to talk to you guys. I want to share what I've discovered. I want to keep you informed. And I feel like even taking one day off, it's like, oh, like I'm playing hooky or something. But if I'm with my family and my loved ones, maybe I'll go to the pool on Friday. You know, maybe just sit in the lazy river and get sunburn. What do you think? I don't know. If I'm not here on Friday, I'll see you on Monday. Brian's already calculating this in his head. He's like, yeah, Frenchie's taking Friday off. I already told my wife I'm considering it. And if I'm already that far considering it, I'm practically there. Anyway, I love you guys. Have a great evening. Have a great tomorrow, a great Friday. And if I don't see you, have a great weekend. I'll see you when I return. God bless you. God bless America. And we'll see you when I get back.